Today's lesson is, drum roll please, the metric system. The metric system is a way of measuring. It was developed by the French in about the late 1700s. It's based on the powers of 10, so it's really easy to use. But it may not be that familiar to you because America doesn't use it. We use things like ounces or pounds or feet or yards, but those are all bad words in my class as far as I'm concerned. We are only going to be using the metric system when we measure stuff. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to measure in the metric system. Let's talk about length first. If I want to measure the length of my desk, what tool would I use? A ruler or a meter stick. Don't say yardstick. A meter stick is 1 meter long. A meter is the official unit for length in the metric system. Now, if it's smaller than a meter, sometimes we use centimeters or millimeters. If it's bigger than a meter, we'll often use kilometers. In fact, some of you in track may even already use kilometers or kilometers. Let's go on to mass. If I wanted to measure the mass of, say, a pencil, how would I do that? What tool would I use to find the mass? I would use a balance. Now there's a couple of types of balances. There's a pan balance, which uses gravity to go back and forth until we get a perfect balance. Get it? Balance. Or we can use an electronic balance. We can also use what's called a triple beam balance to find out the mass of an object. This finds how much mass is in an object, and it measures it in the basic unit for mass, which is gram. Now, you may have heard if something is smaller than a gram, we will use milligrams. For instance, medication is measured in milligrams. If something is more than a gram, we would oftentimes use kilograms, which means 1,000 grams. Now let's talk about weight. Are mass and weight the same thing? What do you think? They're not. Weight is the measure of the force of gravity pulling down on an object. So if matter is measured in mass, how much stuff there is, weight is the measurement of how much it's pulled down. Oh no! Now we measure our weight in pounds, but again, remember, Americans use a different system. We don't use the metric system. The metric unit for weight is newtons. So I have a question for you. Let's say I go to the moon. Is my weight going to be the same thing? No. Is my mass going to be the same thing? Yes. The amount of matter that's inside me will not change, but the pull of gravity will. That means that my weight will change. Let's talk about another type of measurement that we're going to have to do in class, and that is finding the volume of something. Volume is the amount of space that an object takes up. Now, you may have already tried to find the volume of a cube in, let's say, math class. There's an easy formula for it. Length times width times height. Hey, it's one of my favorite songs. Length times width times height. Hey, tells you how to find the volume of a cube or of a rectangle. If we measure the length of it in centimeters, if I have centimeter times centimeter times centimeter, that means the metric unit for volume is going to be centimeter cubed. If I measure that cube in meters, that means that the metric unit for volume of that cube is meters cubed. But let's say I want to find the volume of something that's not a cube, like a liquid. How would I find the volume of a liquid? Well, instead of using centimeters cubed or meters cubed, we use something that we do use sometimes in America. It's called a liter. Now, what do you know of that comes in a liter? Huh? Can you think of it? Pop comes in a liter. 2 liters, in fact. Bottles of 2-liter pops are 2 liters of liquid. And liter is the basic unit of volume for a liquid in the metric system. When we measure volume in our lab, we're going to be using graduated cylinders that look like this, and we're also going to be using beakers that look like this. But now I can see some of you right now in the smoke that's rolling out of your ears because you're thinking so hard, how do we find the volume of something that's not a cube, it's not a liquid, it's irregularly shaped like a rock? That's where we use the water displacement method. Here's how this works. Take a graduated cylinder or a beaker and fill it up to a certain amount of water, let's say about 100 milliliters. Then gently place the rock inside and see how much the water level rose. If I started at 100 and when I put the rock in it went up to 150, what's the volume of the rock? 50. Subtract the difference between the two, and that tells you how much volume is in that irregularly shaped object. Get ready because you're going to have to do that in class. Another measurement that we might have to find sometimes is density. Density is an easy equation to remember. Mass divided by volume. So if I use the metric system to find the mass of the object, then I can use the metric system to find the volume of the object. And if I have the mass and the volume, then I can divide the two to find, what's the word? Density. Well, that does it, guys, for the metric system. Make sure you go back and you know what are the basic units for length, the basic units for mass, and the basic units for volume, both of a solid and a liquid. Also, make sure you know what tools we use to find the length of an object, to find the mass of the object, and to find the volume of the object, whether it's a cube or a liquid. Record that information in your lab journal, bring it back with you tomorrow for a check.